everybody.
Hey everybody. You always get this giggle. You start to say hey everybody, then you make this giggle.
Because it's just become this
So,
like entrance thing.
it's funny.
Just funny.
We could actually pay somebody to stand
We
here
don't
at
have
the
to pay
phone.
anybody.
No.
We got lots of people out there we pay to do this stuff.
That's right. You're exactly right. Thank you. So today we're going to start a new series.
Wait.
What?
Again, we always forget who we are.
We're with Meridian Medical Staff.
We are
Mark and Ann.
Mark and Ann.
Right.
All day long.
All day long.
Back at it. New series.
This series, I think, is one that you guys have been asking for. We've done a lot of nuts and bolts on, kind of behind the scenes, understanding how to decipher an offer, how to really know if you're getting paid properly. Today, our series begins with how to make six figures as a travel nurse. And by the way, it's extraordinarily possible, but you have to know what you're doing. You have to really, I guess, surrender the fact that there are things you need to do if, in fact, you want to make the money, because it's out there. We've got travelers, a lot of your travelers, I know.
Yeah.
A lot of the group out there, the travelers, are making that kind of money. Many aren't, because they've made it this choice that they're maybe not
More
traveling. for money.
location driven.
Yeah. So I think that's part of this. For some of you, this series, may not be what you're looking for. But if you decided to travel, my suggestion is, why not? Why not
Make money.
make
Yeah.
six figures? Because first
And
of all,
don't
it's,
feel bad about it.
well, it's very doable. I mean, I can understand if this series was going to promote some things you really had to sacrifice and do. But what we're going to talk about over the next few weeks is some real simple things that you should be doing that will get you not only six figures, but right up in there. And it's not that difficult, but it's a conscious decision on things we're going to talk about.
Flexibility is an
Well,
important.
don't start stealing all my thunder on stuff.
I'm
So-
always stealing everybody's thunder. I told you that.
That's true. But today we're really going to launch this because I think this is an important one. It's, obviously there's going to be some things we talk about that make our company look great because we can offer this sort of things. There are some companies, by the way,
We are
that will
great.
not be able to get you to six figures no matter how many rules
They're
you
too
apply.
busy getting
They're getting themselves to six
to
figures?
9 figures.
Yes, they are. Good point. Well done.
Yeah.
All right, so let's start it
Knuckle
today.
bump.
Knuckle bump. Okay, perfect. So today we're going to talk about follow the money. And I think that's
And what does that mean?
it's one. Well, first of all, it's the most fundamental aspect of being a six-figure travel nurse, and that is surrender the idea that I want to go to this specific location or I need to have this sort of a climate in this type of year. You need to be very flexible with go where the money is. Now, I want to qualify that a little bit because you have to be careful. Sometimes there are crazy high-paying assignments that you kind of maybe want to stay away from.
Mm-hmm.
We are not suggesting that you chase dollars, without any kind of research or just, blindly, because there are some assignments where your license could be in jeopardy. The place could be an absolute mess, and you guys know the ones I'm talking about. So I always urge you to research a facility. You guys do such great work on researching us agencies, but sometimes many of you kind of come short of researching the facility that you're going to go to.
Yeah.
And that's a disservice to yourself. You get there and you're like, wow, I had no idea because you're looking at things.
Yeah.
But that being said, what does that mean? So we're talking about, let's talk about winter months. Obviously it's summer right now, but there are a lot of nurses that call us in the fall or toward the end of the year to say, I just want to be warm weather. I want to be in Florida, Texas,
I want to be
California,
in Florida and
Arizona.
I want to bring home $1,800 a week.
Right. Those two things are at a disparagement with each other. It's difficult.
Those two things don't go
The
together.
smart nurses are going,
It's
where
not
the
peanut butter and
snowbirds are. It's like go where the opposite of the
Yeah,
snowbirds
you got to
are.
go against the grain.
Same thing in the summertime. I mean, there are a lot of people right now that the idea of doing something in Phoenix or in southern Texas or Texas in general or the state of
Las
Florida,
Vegas.
even California, if you're not coastal, it gets really hot there.
Yeah.
Las Vegas, like example, these are assignments that sometimes pay more during the summer months. It's
Yeah.
supply and demand, guys. So the bottom line is that chasing the money is a good thing if you do it in an educated fashion, where you're not just blindly chasing money. Sometimes some things that are too good to be true, oftentimes aren't.
Yeah, I think also another point I would make, because I have several travelers that are, this one's coming up and put me in front of whatever's paying the most.
Right.
That's always the answer. But then they go back and they research the facility, they research the cost of living, because they want to make sure that, okay, yeah, it's a high bill rate, but if it's South Dakota, close to Sturgis, when the prices go up like crazy, that's going to affect my rate too. So they do a lot of homework.
It's an excellent point.
Related to stuff besides,
It's a really good point. A lot of
getting paid.
recruiters don't necessarily know what the cost of housing is going to be.
Right.
So a high pay rate, or I should say a high bill rate, if you're doing your own housing, which may or may not be a topic that we're talking about here in years to come. A high pay rate, I should say, based upon a bill rate that is offset because the company didn't do the research and they're offering you too low of a housing for what it's going to cost you. That's going to be a disappointment.
Yeah.
But really and truly, a lot of times we get phone calls. I know you do all day long. A lot of people are calling our company saying, "Hey, I'm ready, but I only want to be within a 50 or 100 mile radius of my home."
Right.
You're not going to make six figures unless you happen to live in a place that has all kinds of jobs like that.
Yeah.
Which there's a few out there, but for the majority of you,
And you're going to be underemployed
you're going to be unemployed. Correct. So that's not chasing dollars. It's the same kind of thing. You've got a family member or somebody that you need to go and you want to spend, in this example, summertime with. You've got to give your company and your recruiter the ability to chase some dollars for you. You can't just pigeonhole them into one location.
So what makes a nurse more competitive with high dollar pays? Is that are we talking about that in this series?
We're going to talk about that in the series. We're going to talk
Just
about
not in this one?
Right.
Okay.
We'll talk about some marketability
Sorry.
in ways. So for a lot of you, it brings up licensure. A lot of you are, only licensed in certain states or in a state or two. It's going to be difficult. So if you're non-compact state license, you might need to make a decision on, places that seem to pay a lot of money and places that seem to have a lot of opportunity and places where you can chase the
Quick
dollars.
license.
Which means probably staying away from, if you're going to go out and get a license, I don't necessarily recommend you get an Arizona license.
Right.
Because you're limited to when it pays really well. In fact, a lot of times of the year it pays quite low comparatively to the rest of the country.
Well, yeah, especially if you want to go to Phoenix or Tucson.
Right. So again, chase the dollars. Have your company. This is not necessarily a Meridian medical staffing conversation, but companies like ours that are geared at paying you more. You guys already know we're at the lowest margin in the industry at 20%. We're transparent. We're going to walk you through that when you point. But allowing your recruiter that flexibility to say, hey, here's my choice, A, B, C, let's look at what's paying the most right now. And by the way, that should change throughout the year.
Yeah.
So I know you've got some nurses that have kind of told you that same thing, that have said, hey, so don't use names, but give us some examples of some nurses that are chasing some money right now and going places. I know you've got one in the middle of Nevada, not Vegas, she's making really good money. She's working 48 hours a week, which is another potential topic. I'm tipping my head.
My ER? Yeah, man.
They wanted her back, and
They did
they
want her
demanded
back.
a high pay rate, which I should say high bill rate. She knows us, so we walked her through. It was the exact same deal as last time. She's the top paying ER nurse traveler in the hospital. And
She's there at night alone.
She's making a lot, yeah. So there's issues.
That's what I'm saying. She's a very experienced ER nurse, and she is there in the ER alone. I think she has one med-surg nurse and a tech of some sort
So
there.
she's earning that, and there's a reason why she's making so much money. Good for her. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
But she's been there before, so she came back on it again.
Mm-hmm.
What do you hear a lot from people that this video, this series, what you mean as far as how it wouldn't apply? How many times a day do you get called saying, I just want to be in, and I won't use names of cities, but I want to be in.
I would say the majority of the people that call in, they're typically new travelers, or they are nurses who think they can use travel to get them to the next stage in their life, which sometimes works.
Absolutely.
You can make that happen, and it's a good way to get, to transition to someplace new. But the majority of the time, unless you're a good recruiter and you kind of school them on if you really, why do you need to be in this one specific place, and if there's room for them to venture out and they're willing to, and they begin to understand how you really can make more money as opposed to just being pinholed into one little place. Usually the places that they want to be are bigger cities,
Which sometimes have the lowest pay rates because it's a supply and demand issue.
and they have big PRN pools, so they don't really have a big need for travelers. So, I want to come to Colorado. Well, okay, but where do you want to come to Colorado? Denver, of course. Okay, well, we have a really big PRN pool. So,
Booming city.
yeah, still.
So
And
you're right.
we
Not a lot
don't-
of travel needs in general in our
they're
town.
really-
We work with almost every hospital in here.
Yeah, there's not a giant need because there's a big PRN pool. Now, as you grow out into some of the less sexy places in Colorado, still cool, but not typically thought about from people who aren't from Colorado.
Right.
Then you're going to make a little bit more money. But that's, the point that I would make when it comes to this is that most people that initially call me and want to be in one specific place, but then end up, out of urgency, end up taking an assignment because they need some money. It was not their planned place, but they get an offer and the money's good and they end up going, and inevitably they call me and say, this changed my life. Like, I get it now. I get what travel's supposed to be.
Right.
It's not always about the destination, it's about the journey, not to sound corny, but that's really what they end up finding out, is that it's about taking that less sexy location for the high money and then going and making your own adventure.
Well, I think to wrap this up is this today. It's about chasing the dollars. You really need to do that.
Yeah.
If you want to make six figures, the first and most important thing you have to decide is, I'm not going to limit myself to certain locations. Matter of fact, I'm going to open my mind up and say, where can I make some money in a great hospital that's really appreciative to have me, in a safe environment where I can chase. Now, I may be cold in winter, I may be hot in the summertime, I may be in a smaller town, but at the end of the day, your financial options open up. And have a company, and definitely have a recruiter that understands your motivation, and let him or her know, this is my agenda. So you go out and you give me good advice from your side of the desk as to where I should go. And hopefully you got a company and a recruiter that does that for you. You've got 4 or 5 different options. The more options usually come from the more open of a nurse that you are.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
there's just no doubt about it.
One little caveat to what you said about a great facility is that it could be a great facility, but like the perm staff could be really mean, so the nurse manager knows she has to pay the traveler a lot to stay.
To keep them there.
That's true, that happens.
That's why I say research.
Travel is not easy and fun, so there's that.
That's why I say
as we all
research.
know.
All right, I hope this was helpful, guys. I know we kind of were a little bit all over the place, but really the focus of today is just chase the money. Step number 1 in having a 6-figure income as a travel nurse, and it's
Go
a
wherever
very,
the
very
highest
simple
paying job
process.
is.
Get that figure in your head that you need to make this much an hour, be reasonable about it, and go have your
And
go
don't
out
feel
get it.
guilty, because you've earned it.
All right, we'll continue this in the next Friday, and we'll talk to you guys then. I'm going to go push my button.
Yeah. Have a great rest of your day, guys.